What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today I wanted to showcase a Rotom team in the Love Cup. This is a Pokemon I never thought I'd have the opportunity to showcase because it is such an interesting and unique pick, but also such a squishy Pokemon that generally is outclassed by a lot of other Pokemon. But in a meta where so many different Pokemon are banned, this is actually the only Astonish user you could possibly use, and it is a nasty core breaker. If you've been enjoying videos like this on the channel, I just want to say please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a ton. But without further ado, let's get into the battles and see what Rotom can do. All right, first battle of the day up against regional champions Vilas running Mr. Mime in the lead, so we're both spicing it up right now. Keep in mind, these are in the 3200s, these battles, so even though this is a spicy team, this is a very, very viable one. Our opponent also having access to a Beware, a Pokemon which our backline does not want to see. It has access to Superpower, it has access to Stomp as well. Rotom would take super effective damage from the Shadow Claws. We did shield up that Superpower, but the second one will still do quite a bit of damage to us, unfortunately. This one does come through. Our opponent is likely going to come back in with that Mr. Mime and try to take all the damage that they can. This is actually a little bit of an interesting endgame depending on what their final Pokemon is going to be. That is such an obvious Pokemon to try to bait out a potential fighting type Pokemon. If they are another fighting type weakness in the backline, this could be a little bit tricky. Because of that, I'm going to save my Scrafty just in case we need it. Come in with our Licky Tongue, or Licky Licky that is. Already mixing up names this video, love to see it. This Body Slam should do quite a bit of damage. Might not be enough to knock out the Mime, but it will put them very low. And in comes the final Pokemon, a Crocodile. Alright, so Mr. Mime's not really a threat for our team, but Crocodile definitely is. This is a Pokemon we are ABA weak to because our rollouts do nothing. We take super effective damage on Rotom with both the Crunch Charge Move and the Mud Slap Fast Move, so this is not a great matchup if we cannot get rid of this Crocodile. Body Slam number 2 coming through. Our opponent is going to shield that up as well. In comes yet another Body Slam here. Hopefully we can land this move, but at this point it's such an awkward game because if I shield this attack up, there's a good chance they can reach another Charge Move against either a Rotom or a Scrafty. With that said, Switch Clocks are up. I might be able to reach an Ominous Wind against this Crocodile, and I don't think they can reach a Charge Move against us if I am able to drain them of energy by coming in with our Scrafty. They do have to throw a Charge Move before we can reach a move against them. They throw a Brick Break, it does knock us out, but now I think our Rotom should be able to either farm them down or reach a charge move against them before they can knock us out with a Crunch. We farm them down all the way with Astonish. In comes the Mr. Mime, but we can Astonish it down, just barely taking game number 1. GG's to our opponent. That was a very spicy team. Next matchup, going to see a Skeledirge on the lead. Fantastic lead here. Astonish is super effective, and we are able to just completely farm them down, shield once, and have a ton of energy for the backline. If this opponent stays in, that means they are likely also weak to Rotom in the backline. They must be ABA weak right now, and because I want to save our Rotom, I will shield up this Disarming Voice, and in comes an Alomomola. We can go for a Thunderbolt here. We are able to likely draw a shield with this. Maybe I should have gone for a bait, but with that said, I want that guaranteed shield, and then we can come in with our Thunder Punch Scrafty. I know Scrafty sometimes runs Power Up Punch, but Thunder Punch is a very good coverage move, gives it a lot of play into these water types you see a lot of, and Talonflame as well is a bit of a common Pokemon here, so having that coverage is a little bit more helpful, at least in my opinion, than running that ramping up move like Power Up Punch is. So I'm going to be very happy in this matchup to shield this up, go for a complete farm down, hope this is a Hydro Pump here, which it is, and get a ton of energy coming out of this. We're going to be able to go for a Foul Play potentially against that Skeledirge if we need to, and in the back I'm going to see a Medicham. Actually a little bit of a tricky Pokemon to see here. Foul Play, if it does land though, going to do quite a bit of damage, and Rotom is still going to be able to put in a lot of work with these Astonishes. Our opponent is going to be able to reach a charge move here, but if they do throw energy to knock us out, then my Licky Licky should be able to come in, roll out, and Body Slam them, and take the win this game. Ominous Wind actually gives us the boost here. A little bit too little, too late though at this point because Ice Punch will knock us out, but with that said, this is well within range where our Licky Licky can deal with this Medicham. Counters are adding up, but they have almost no charge move pressure. Go straight for that Body Slam. It might not be quite enough to knock them out, but even if it isn't, we're able to get the rollout down after the fact. Body Slam doesn't quite get the KO, but these rollouts after will be able to take out this Medicham. We come out with a Body Slam. Our opponent has a big decision to make. Who do they bring in at this point to take this Body Slam? They're thinking, and then they think to top left. GG's to them. Next matchup, Rotom up against probably its worst nightmare matchup. This is the one issue with using Rotom in this meta, the normal types. You have Licky Licky, you have Miltank as well, that are both kind of common normal type Pokemon you might see. Very tricky Pokemon, but I do have our Licky Licky Stay Swap and obviously my Scrafty in the backline that can deal with them. We ended up baiting out a Medicham, which is fantastic. Our Scrafty wants to avoid this at all costs. There's a chance we can get a shield advantage here as well, and if we can, there is a good chance our Licky Licky can put in work in the backline, or our Scrafty could rather. In comes a charge move from this Medicham. We shield up the Dynamic Punch, and now we're going to go for a Body Slam. Our opponent likely has to shield this up. I would hope they do. If they do end up letting this go, there is a chance they survive, but a Shadow Ball would knock them out. They actually opt to let it go, but we do. Oh my goodness, we don't even get that rollout down. That's so bad for us. With that said, we can get the farm down. We can flip switch, but Rotom down 2 shields likely doesn't have a ton of play here. Unfortunately for us, it's going to be a Skeledirge in the backline. This Pokemon has so much play into our Scrafty with that super effective Disarming Voice, and Shadow Ball will one-shot a Rotom potentially. I think our only win condition at this point is to try to catch a Shadow Ball on our Scrafty. Go in with our Rotom, and after 3 Astonishes, try to make the catch, but our opponent overfarming perfectly there. They're able to probably knock us out there. We top left before we give them the chance. All right, next game, a little bit of a tricky lead here, right? Scrafty is not a Pokemon any Pokemon on my team wants to see, but the thing is, Rotom does resist these counters. They might resist our Astonishes, but this matchup is actually pretty neutral. We can stay in here and eventually brute force our way through this. Our opponent going to build up to a foul play. It could be a Thunder Punch or a Power Up Punch bait, but I am going to shield either way. I need to get rid of this Scrafty. A Thunder Punch bait is going to come through. I'm going to bait my own move here. Ominous Wind is going to be able to either do almost no damage or draw a shield from our opponent. Ominous Wind does draw a shield, and we get the boost. That is fantastic. The defense boost doesn't really matter as much, but you can see counters are adding up over time, so we'll appreciate that. The attack boost, though, making it so these Astonishes are going to do quite a bit more damage, and now we can maybe even land an Astonish and knock them out with fast food pressure after the fact. In comes our next Ominous Wind. If our opponent no-shields this, it's basically going to knock out. Our opponent does no-shield. They do survive, but we get another boost. They reach a charge move. I think this is just going to be a Thunder Punch, but this is a double boosted Rotom. That Thunder Punch does almost nothing. We have so much energy. In comes a Skeledirge. Oh my goodness, how weak are they to Rotom in the backline? Another Ominous Wind coming through. Can we get a third boost this game? Ominous Wind gets thrown. They shield it up. A third boost. We are triple boosted. That is a 1 in 1,000 chance right now to get a triple boost in a row. We'll take it. At this point, what is their final Pokemon? A Galarian Slowbro. These Astonishes nearly just knocking them out with fast food pressure. At this point, all we need is our Licky Licky to come in, go for a Body Slam. Our opponent realizing that is game over. We just destroyed them with Rotom. GG's to them. All right, next game here, Clefable in the lead. A good lead, not the best lead for our team to see, but because our Scrafty in the backline is so weak to Fairy-type damage, I'm very happy just neutralizing this with our Rotom. Astonish is doing a lot of damage to them, but with that said, these Fairy Winds are adding up against us as well. Ominous Wind comes through. It does get the shield. Our opponent is going to try their best to get shields with either going for Swift Baits or potentially Moonblast against us. I will shield up. They go for a Meteor Mash, actually, so that comes into question. What is their moveset going to be? Are they running double nukes, or is it going to be Swift Meteor Mash? With that said, I am going to shield this next move. Even though Meteor Mash is resisted, it would come close to knocking us out, so I don't want to let our Rotom go down. It feels like their backline must be a little bit weak to our electric and ghost type Pokemon, or else why would they be staying in this matchup? They do opt to throw a charge move here, gonna be just a swift though at this point, and now we get that full farm, we have a ton of energy, and in comes a Galarian Slowbro. This Pokemon is by no means an answer to Rotom, as we saw in that last game. Super effective ghost type damage is gonna go a long way. They do no-shield that first Ominous Wind, but we can reach a second one here, and they catch a move on Wormadam, another Pokemon that Rotom has fantastic play against. Ominous Wind does not draw a shield, but it's able to at least strip him down into range where counters plus Thunder Punches will knock out this Wormadam. They have almost no HP remaining on that, what was it, Slowbro on the backline, and because of that, I think at this point they have to shield these Thunder Punches. They don't want to, but they're going to be forced to, and the next one, once I reach it, should be coming close to knocking them out. They can throw a Bug Buzz against us if they are running that charge attack. Going to do a decent amount of damage, but I think we can survive, still reach our charge move, and we should be able to whittle down this Wormadam, so we don't have to deal with it with our Licky Licky. In comes the Thunder Punch. They actually got a defense drop, so I guess making up for that 1 in 1,000 boost chance we had earlier in the video, right? In comes that Slowbro here to farm us down. We have a lot of energy on Slowbro, but I know Licky Licky is so fast at getting to charge moves, and since they no-shielded that Ominous Wind earlier on in this game, they are going to have to worry about this Body Slam just taking out all of their energy here. Down goes the Slowbro, down goes the Wormadam. Licky Licky able to close out this game. GG's to our opponent. We had so much play here with our Rotom. Next matchup going to be, well, that might be the worst possible Pokemon that we could see. Once again, a Dark and Ground-type Pokemon. We have to safe swap here our Licky Licky and try our best to whittle this down. They are staying in, which is good, but they have access to Brick Break as well, a super effective charge move that lowers my defense stat, so this is looking pretty bad for us. They do no-shield that Body Slam, so a good amount of chip damage, and since they're staying in here, there is a chance that we can win this game, depending on if they stay in completely, or if they're going to swap out now. We'll have to see what we can do. And comes a Slowbro in the back. Okay, this is not looking great for us. I'm going to go straight for the Shadow Ball, though. Maybe I can reach a second Shadow Ball before I get Confusion down, but if they can get a huge Confusion down against us, that's going to be a lot of charge move pressure that they could have against my backline. I don't quite reach the Shadow Ball. I have to go for a Body Slam. Maybe if I would have baited, I could have reached a second Shadow Ball here, but because of that, our opponent able to easily survive and reach some charge moves against our Rotom. This is a little bit uncomfortable for us right now. I'm going to try to no-shield this. I think it has like Psyshock and Surf as its charge moves. Yeah, Psyshock comes through. Our opponent is close to a second charge move at this point. I will have to shield it up if I don't want my Rotom to go down, and we will shield it up. Psyshock gets the shield, and we get a ton of energy. With that said, Electric and Ghost do nothing to Crocodile. We're going to go for the Ominous Wind, try to get some sort of chip damage against them. At the very least, this might put them into a range where we can farm them down easily with Scrafty, but our opponent instantly swapping out actually into a Galarian Slowbro. I should have instantly, or I should have swapped, or not swapped, into my Scrafty here. If I would have stayed in the matchup there with our Rotom into that Crocodile, and then they would have swapped in their Slowbro into me, I could have had a good chance this game, but because they swapped at the same time I did, it's going to make it so now my Scrafty has no energy lead here. Our opponent should be able to potentially land 2 charges against us, neutralize our Scrafty, and this is not looking great. We got the bait, but because they're going to be able to outpace us, and these fast moves have done so much damage, Scald will knock us out here, and I don't think our Rotom has enough in the tank at this point to win this game. In comes a Brutal Swing. This will knock out our Electric and Ghost type, unfortunately, but it was about as close as you're really going to get it for a game where you're basically hard countered at any corner. GG's to our opponent there. Next game, Rotom up against a Licky Licky, a terrible lead matchup. Once again, they're going to try to safe swap our Licky Licky of our own, see what we can do here. If our opponent doesn't have a great answer, that's going to be amazing for us. They end up coming with a Psycho Cut Medicham, a Pokemon that is by no means a hard answer to Licky Licky. We have Shadow Ball for this Pokemon right now. It will be able to do a lot of super effective damage if they end up letting it through, and they are going to no-shield that attack. We're going to reach for another Shadow Ball right now, see if we can get potentially a knockout or a shield advantage this game. This could be a dynamic punch. We're going to no-shield though, because I know I do survive, and I know that these Psycho Cuts are not going to be able to farm us down before we can reach another Body Slam. Just go for the Shadow Ball at this point. I want to guarantee a shield, and because we got that shield at this point, I can just let my Licky Licky go and get a farm down with Rotom. There's a good chance we have play with our Scrafty in the backline because we did bait out the fighter that they have. There's a chance if they have a second fighter, it would just be a Scrafty of their own. If that is the case, that's not the worst case scenario, but what is it going to be? We still know there's that Licky Licky from that lead matchup. In the backline, what are they going to have? Actually, an Alomomola, a very strong Pokemon for our Scrafty to face off against, because we know they have Psychic as their cheapest charge move, and super effective Thunder Punch is going to be able to start working a lot against this water type Pokemon. Thunder Punch does opt to get shielded by our opponent here, but because of that, I know I can reach another Thunder Punch, maybe farm him down, and Rotom at this point should be able to put in a lot of work this game. I mean, a no-shield, that was not even a Hydro Pump worth of energy, and a resisted Psychic not going to do anywhere near as much damage to us as they likely would want it to. Thunder Punch number 2 coming through won't be enough to knock him out because Alomomola is a very bulky Pokemon, but because I'm able to reach yet another Thunder Punch here, this should be more than enough to knock out this Pokemon, and Scrafty is outside of rollout down range. We're going to get a lot of counter damage, and there's a chance our Rotom, even with Thunderbolt and Astonish, could knock out this Licky Licky. At this point, I can let this go, right? Just save my shields for Earthquakes or Shadow Balls later on. Rotom can come in. I already have some Astonishes of energy, right? So I can go for a Thunderbolt in just a second here. Our opponent is going to throw a Charge Move, but I'm at Thunderbolt right now. I have back-to-back shields, so there's no way they can win this game as long as Thunderbolt is enough to knock them out. I think it does about half of a Licky Licky's HP, so as long as this Thunderbolt is going to be able to be fully charged, it should be enough to knock out Licky Licky here. It does come through, Licky Licky goes down, Rotom getting revenge on the normal type Pokemon. Alright, next matchup, you're going to see our Rotom up against another Licky Licky. Not what you want to see, but we did win that last game. Maybe there's a chance we can win this next one. Our opponent staying in for just a second and then swapping into a Wormadam. Wormadam, definitely not a hard answer to Licky Licky here. We have Shadow Ball and Rollout, which are neutral fast move pressure and charge move pressure against them, so there's a chance we can flip this matchup if we need to. But I know that Rotom down shields is potentially not the best Pokemon in the game. It's a pretty squishy Pokemon, right? So if shields are down, it could get outpaced and one-shot by something. Bug Buzz is going to get shielded up, though. I think at this point in the one-shield matchup, that's probably my best case scenario. I can probably drop both shields from this Wormadam, get a farm down with Rotom if they do opt to shield up twice. So let's see what's going to happen. They do shield once here. They're going to have to shield a second time, though, if they want to keep switch. Shadow Ball is already reached. What is our opponent going to do? In comes the Shadow Ball. Our opponent is going to end up going for switch advantage, and as I was saying, I don't want to go for a switch advantage myself. Going down shields with Rotom seems like a mistake, and as we've seen, Thunderbolt does a lot of damage to normal type Pokemon anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. I can get a huge farm down. Almost no way they can reach any sort of charge move that would do anything to us, right? Bug Buzz and Iron Head both being resisted. In comes that Licky, and in the backline going to be a Slowbro. Alright, a very interesting matchup here. We do have super effective Foul Play. It's not going to be enough to one-shot, though, and counter is doing almost nothing to this Slowbro's health. In comes that Foul Play. Yeah, it's not in counter down range quite yet, which means that if they do get a bait here, they could potentially get a bait and a huge charge move against us before a Thunder Punch knocks them out. In comes a Brutal Swing. They did bait us here. Insane bait by our opponent. Because of that, now they outpace us to either a Surf or a Sludge Bomb. What's it going to be? Surf, I think, is going to come through. Yeah, that was only a Surf worth of energy, but because they were able to get our shield and knock out our Scrafty, at this point, I think that Licky Licky should be able to land a Shadow Ball against our Rotom. Unfortunately for us, we are going to lose this one. Despite being in a decent spot, flipping switch advantage, we were not, we got a shield advantage rather, not quite able to win that one. Alright, a Slowbro in the lead, fantastic for our Rotom to see. Astonish is super effective. We resist these poison jabs, and they can throw Brutal Swing if they want to, but look at how much damage I've done with my fast moves already. They're in range where I can 2-shield from them all the way down, maybe even make a catch at some point this game, depending on what they do. They end up safe swapping a Licky Licky, and this is exactly where Scrafty wants to be. We have super effective counter damage. We are going to be able to come out of this matchup with a lot of energy as well. Our opponent throwing a charge move. It could be an Earthquake, could be a Solar Beam, likely just a Body Slam, though. Not going to do anywhere near as much damage as they would like it to do. Body Slam, if it wasn't nerfed in the previous season, would probably be able to 3-shot us here, but because of the nerf, not quite enough, especially because rollout is resisted. Our opponent is going to have to throw another charge move, this time on alignment. I want to have back-to-back charge moves here so I can threaten health against that Slowbro later on this game. We are able to survive that up, go for a Foul Play to guarantee the knockout, and go for another Foul Play against whatever is going to come in. Foul play is going to get no shielded. Our opponent is going to have to take yet another one here in just a second. Slowbro comes back in, and now if they end up shielding this, I can come back in Rotom, because they ended up staying in that lead matchup, right? That likely means they're ABA weak to our Rotom, but no, they have a Miltank in the backline, and they catch my Ominous Wind combo play. Fantastic play by our opponent. Ominous Wind is going to do nothing here, but I know Miltank likely only has Body Slam and Thunderbolt, so their Charge Move's not going to do too much to me. Thunderbolt of our own should do quite a bit of damage to them. If they shield this up, then at least they're going to be down shields. I was hoping they no-shield that, though, knowing that that Thunderbolt would be our highest hitting fast move or charge move pressure that we'd have against this Pokemon, right? We have Body Slam in the back line, and potentially we're going to be able to win this game with our Licky Licky later on. In comes a charge move here. A Body Slam doesn't knock us out, but a Thunderbolt should be enough to KO our Rotom, unfortunately, and now it's up to our Licky Licky to win this game. It's going to be an interesting endgame, right? They have some energy on that Slowbro, so I always want to have a little bit of health left over on our Licky Licky, as well as energy, so I can Body Slam them before they can get to a Brutal Swing, potentially on us, so always have back-to-back charge moves if I can. In comes another charge attack from Miltank. At this point, we can survive anything they're going to throw. Body Slam does nothing to us here. We're going to instantly throw the Body Slam, but they end up catching the move on their Slowbro. While that is a good catch by them, it's not going to be enough to win them this game. Body Slam is going to knock them out, and at this point, we can go for yet another Body Slam against this Pokemon, and this should be able to put them into range where the next one will knock out. Body Slam does come through. It almost gets the KO there. The next Body Slam ready to go. If this doesn't knock out, Scrafty in the backline can also counter this down. Body Slam going to be thrown. Miltank, is it going to survive? Not quite enough health on that Miltank. We are able to win that game. All right, next matchup here, Rotom up against a Skeledirge, another great lead. Rotom is able to core break a lot of teams. Is this going to be one of them? They end up having an Alomomola in the backline. I have so much play, though, against Skeledirge. I don't really care about winning Switch advantage. I wouldn't mind winning Switch, but I mean, I have both my Licky Licky with Rollout, and then also my Scrafty that has a ton of play into it with Foul Play, and even my Rotom, right, it has super effective Ominous Wind and Astonish against Skeledirge, so I'm not that worried about Switch advantage. All I need to do is go for these Thunder Punches and draw shields from this Alomomola. In comes another Thunder Punch here. Our opponent is going to end up no-shielding that attack, and they ended up CMPing us here too, so I can just no-shield this, be fine getting a farm down with Licky Licky or potentially with our Rotom, and we can get a huge energy lead and take shield advantage as well. That Skeledirge has nowhere to go at this point. We have our Rotom in the back. We have a Shadow Ball loaded on Licky Licky. What is our opponent going to do? They come in here with a Skeledirge, which, I mean, I guess they kind of have to do, right? They have to hope they can survive this move, maybe reach a Disarming Voice against us, but if that is the case, it's still going to be fantastic for us here, because we can survive that pretty easily. They shield up that attack, actually, which is kind of interesting. This next Shadow Ball, though, able to be reached once again, should be enough to knock them out. Actually, not quite enough here, but because their backline is a Miltank, we can come in with our Rotom. I know this isn't the best matchup to be in, but up 2 shields, that is almost insurmountable here for this Miltank. Thunderbolt going to do a ton of damage. It's going to put them into Body Slam range as well, and I know that Body Slam or Thunderbolt from them is resisted. I can no-shield anything they're going to throw, and I can hope that they're going to bait us with a normal type move. In comes a Body Slam here, going to do nothing to our Rotom. Even though we are a squishy Pokemon, Body Slam still doing nothing is always a good sight to see. And in comes another charge move from this Miltank. This time I will shield it up, just in case it is a Thunderbolt, which it is. It would come close to knocking us out. And in comes a Thunderbolt of our own, our opponent able to top left right before we're able to throw it. GG's to them. Alright, Rotom up against a Shadow Scizor, very spicy Pokemon. Could have access to Night Slash here, but if they do, then I'm going to be able to do a lot of fast move pressure. We resist both Fury Cutter and Bullet Punch. Looks like this one is running Bullet Punch, so the fast move is doing almost nothing to us. Our fast move is able to farm them down the longer this matchup goes. They end up swapping out here to a Scrafty, a Pokemon we don't have a hard answer to, but we do have our own Scrafty, which can at least kind of neutralize this Pokemon. In comes either a Power Up Punch or potentially a Thunder Punch here. I think if they have Power Up Punch, though, the Zero Shield matchup actually is favorable for the Thunder Punch user, because we are able to do a lot more raw damage with our charge move. If we are able to land this, which it does go no-shielded, we can win this matchup by going for the full counter down and just barely clinching out this matchup. If that Scrafty or that Scizor does come back in, we'll get another counter against them. If it's anything else, I guess we'll see what they end up having. They do come back in with that Scizor. If I can get Astonish down in 3, they don't get another charge move. We are able to get that full fast move farm down here. Opponent is going to top left. GG's to them. Another game that Rotom just kind of destroys. Okay, another fantastic lead, right? We have the ability to resist these poison type fast moves, although they do have access to Trailblaze, which can ramp up over time, and potentially also Lunge, which could debuff our attack stat here, which could be a little bit awkward. We're going to shield up. Lunge is going to be thrown, so they actually go for the resisted Lunge instead to debuff our attack here. I'm going to have to go for a Thunderbolt now to try to guarantee a knockout or a shield from this opponent. They're going to let it go, actually, hoping for an Ominous Wind. Good thing that I went for the full nuke here, and in the backline going to be a Lick-a-Tongue, that is. We're going to save swap our Licky Licky, and a Soul Rock in the backline is going to be one of the best things we could see here. I'm going to go for a Body Slam bait. They kind of have to shield this. If they don't, they'd get one shot by a Shadow Ball. Our opponent, though, they make the call. They no-shield that Shadow Ball. A very good call by them, because I ended up baiting. I'm going to just full send at this point. I want to make sure we can get a shield from this thing. Shadow Ball this time going to end up one-shotting them. They're trying to make a second call there, which I guess fair enough. At that point, they have to make some sort of big move, and our Licky Licky able to close out that backline. All right, next game, another normal type in the lead. Miltank is not quite as bad as Licky Licky because the Charge Moves don't do too much damage to us, but it's still not a great lead because Astonish is resisted. So I'm going to swap out to our Licky Licky, and we are met by a Psycho Cup Medicham. Once again, not the worst thing for our Licky Licky to see. Dynamic Punch does not one-shot us, and with an energy lead, these Shadow Balls and Body Slams will start adding up over time. Shadow Ball going to be thrown. Our opponent has a big decision to make. Do they want to shield this up, or are they just going to let it go? They do opt to let it go, and another Shadow Ball going to be thrown before Medicham can draw a shield from us. Because we can reach this move, this likely will draw a shield from them. They might even get a knockout if they try to get greedy and no-shield a Body Slam. They opt to shield it up though. Should have gone for the bait here, and our opponent throwing a charge move here at the last second. With that said, we did bait out the Medicham. Scrafty, once this Pokemon is gone, hopefully is going to have some play. Dynamic Punch going to be thrown, likely meaning that they have Psychic as their second charge move here, and if this is a Psychic, it is going to do quite a bit of damage to our Rotom. With that said, we get the farm down, we have a bit of energy. Psychic does do like 70% of our HP, which is a little bit crazy, and a Wigglytuff in the backline. Not what we wanted to see. We're actually a little bit ABA weak to Wigglytuff. Honestly, we don't really have a Wigglytuff answer with this team, but that is not the most common Pokemon, so not the thing I have to worry about too often, but it was able to beat us there. Next game, though, a Skeledirge, and a Skeledirge that is staying into our Rotom. Fantastic stuff, and they try to catch a move on their Milotic. Once again, with these bulky water types, just come in with our Scrafty, go for Thunder Punch, no-shield these charge moves, and try to get a big shield advantage if we can, because I know that Skeledirge in the backline is not a threat at all for either a Licky Licky or a Rotom. In comes a Thunder Punch here in just a second. Our opponent is going to have to shield this up if they want to be able to throw a Surf here. And if they do shield this up, I'm kind of fine just letting Scrafty go. I can reach another Thunder Punch if they don't throw energy. Our opponent, realizing that, is going to throw at the last second. And this is now going to set up a nice farm down for either Licky Licky or potentially our Rotom. But I think Rotom's a little bit too low at this point, so Licky Licky it is. I can go for a Body Slam if I want to, but I think going for the farm down is going to be just a little bit more important here. I can shield this if I want to, but Surf is not the most impactful charge move. I'm going to no-shield and hope they don't have a lot of fast food pressure in the backline, but that is going to be a Pokemon with some fast food pressure. At least against Licky Licky, it is a Scrafty. This Pokemon, once it gets kind of chipped down, though, should be in range where Thunderbolt is going to be enough to knock him out. We have a lot of energy on our Rotom. I think we should still be in a pretty decent spot this game. Thunderbolt going to end up landing, doing a ton of damage to Scrafty. At this point, this is going to be the Astonish downrange that we need. We can shield this up, go for the full fast food farm down, and if they come in with Milotic, go for an Ominous Wind. If they come in with that Skeledirge, go for an Ominous Wind after a single Astonish. Let's see what they're going to end up doing. They're taking a second to decide. They come in with that Skeledirge, go for that Astonish, get that fast food pressure, and get the shield with this next charge move. This should be able to knock them out if they end up letting it go. I think, though, they are going to have to shield this up and try to win this game by going for a Disarming Voice in just a second. But we have a Body Slam. We actually had a Shadow Ball, but I did not quite know if I'd have it quite yet. But this Body Slam, not enough to knock out, but that rollout should be. We're able to knock out this Pokemon. They have no health left over, or no energy as well on their Milotic, so we can just go for a rollout down, take the win, and GG's to them. All right, next game, another fantastic lead here for Rotom. It is able to core break so many teams, it seems like, and once again, our opponent is staying in a matchup they really don't want to be in. Ariados does have access to Trailblaze, which is neutral, but they might also go for a Lunge bait here. I'm going to call it this time. Lunge does almost nothing, I say, as we go into the yellow here with a resisted charge move, but at this point, this Thunderbolt is going to do a lot, probably draw a shield from them, and we're going to be able to do a lot of Astonish damage to them in return. In comes yet another charge move from this Ariados. They are going to be so spammy here, but I know Rotom is just as offensive as this Ariados, and because we were able to chip this down, we don't have to deal with this Pokemon later on with our Scrafty. In comes an Ominous Wind. Our opponent is going to have to shield this if they want to get their final charge move off here this game. What are they going to do? They opt to let it go. They save a shield, and they come in with a Skeledirge. At this point, I'm fine giving the farm down over. I have a secondary answer to the Skeledirge here with our Licky Licky. Those Astonishes as well did quite a bit of damage, and we have a Scrafty in the backline for this Miltank. All we need to do right now is tap our phone screens, try our best to knock out this Miltank, so we can have our Licky Licky into that Skeledirge in the backline. And because these rollouts do almost nothing to us here, Scrafty is going to be able to build a lot of energy, potentially go for a Foul Play as well against that Skeledirge. Foul Play going to be thrown against this Miltank. If they shield this up, this is just game over. If they no shield, then we're still in a very good spot, but they end up surviving on 1 HP. A little bit of a misplay by me. I probably should have gone for either a bit more farm or potentially just not throwing that Foul Play there. But with that said, we can still reach a Foul Play, get potentially a shield from this Pokemon, and at this point, I might as well go for the shield, right? I know that if we draw a shield here, I can go for a Shadow Ball in the backline, and we should be able to win the game that way. And comes a Foul Play. Our opponent is going to have to shield this up, but if they do, a Shadow Ball will knock them out with our Licky Licky later on. Licky Licky is going to be brought in. At this point, they don't have access to anything other than Disarming Voice. Blast Burn is not a move Skeledirge can quite yet learn, and they Shadow Ball us, I guess, to just show us the game is, in fact, over. GG's to them. Next matchup, Rotom up against a Skeledirge. Once again, one of the best Pokemon we could ever see. Do they stay in? Do they swap out? They stay in, which is such a telling sign that Rotom has so much play into their team. Once again, they're going to throw a charge move at the last second, but because we were able to throw first, we're going to draw a shield before they're able to throw against us here. Ominous Wind is going to draw a shield from the Skeledirge, and then they swap out to a Licky Licky. We can just swap into our Scrafty. Our opponent top lefting instantly after they see that Pokemon. Alright, well, GG's to them. That was a very quick game. Next matchup, a Scrafty, much more awkward lead here, but this is kind of where we want to see it, right? Our opponent, though, they swap from a neutral matchup into a hard loss matchup. We can probably go for a full Astonish down. They give us a full Astonish sneak here. If I can just tap my phone screen, go for fast moves, and knock out the Slowbro, we should be in such a good spot here. They end up getting fully farmed down before another Brutal Swing is reached. That is absolutely brutal for them. What is going to come in? If it's at Scrafty, we're in a really good spot. If it's their third Pokemon, we'll see their full team. It's going to be a Talonflame, actually. We're going to go for a Thunderbolt, try to get a knockout. Honestly, I probably should go straight Ominous Wind at this point. It's a guaranteed shield. They kind of have to. They do shield up that attack, but because I want to guarantee shields here, I'm going to go for a Thunderbolt once again and make sure to get that second shield down. Licky should have a lot of play into this Pokemon, but with this energy lead, it could be a little bit scary, actually, but I think we should be in a decent spot still, up a shield, and with the alignment that we need. Licky's rollouts are going to be very super effective against this Talonflame. Our opponent is going to throw a charge move, likely going to be a Brave Bird, and then we'll have to see what their Scrafty is going to have in the backline. Brave Bird does come through. Our opponent is going to swap out here to their Scrafty. I'm actually going to go for a Body Slam to chip them down a little bit, put them into a range where my own Scrafty can easily win the mirror matchup here. They are going to have to try their best to whittle down my Scrafty, but I don't think there's any way they can knock us out before we can knock them out, especially after that Body Slam chip damage. In comes a Power Up Punch here, not going to do any damage, and if we can knock them out, that Power Up Punch is not going to do much with their counter damage, with that damage increase either. Thunder Punch is going to be thrown. Our opponent is not even going to be able to incinerate us down, so at this point, if we can reach a Thunder Punch, we win this game, and if they ever throw a charge move, then I can just roll out them down with our Licky. They're going to try for the incinerate down. They don't quite get it, though, before the Thunder Punch is reached. This should knock out the Talonflame and take the win for us this game. GG's to them. Very interesting team. Once again, Rotom is such a strong pick here in this meta. And once again, one of the best seeds, we can see Skeledirge in the lead of Pokemon that we are going to try our best to take out so our Scrafty doesn't have to deal with it. They end up safe swapping once again with a Licky. This is where Scrafty is going to shine. They're going to try their best to knock us out, or at least whittle us down into range where their Skeledirge can get a farm down against us. But if I can come out of this match with a foul play, this could be a very good game for us here. In comes an Earthquake. It actually does quite a bit of damage to us. We're going to go for a foul play of our own, try to knock out this Licky before they can get another charge move off against us, but they survived once again on 1 HP foul play, just coming short against another Pokemon here, unfortunately. We're going to try, though, to survive this Body Slam. I know it's not going to do too much damage to us, and because we can survive one more Incinerate, we can actually go for a foul play against the Skeledirge and potentially knock them out here if they do end up no-shielding. It's going to be close, though. They might survive on 1 HP. Our opponent tries to, but they still get knocked out, and we see a Scrafty in the back. A Pokemon that, while it is very tricky for our Ghost and Normal-type Pokemon to see, because we resist these counters, we can actually just go straight Ominous Wind here, chip them down, draw shields from this, and potentially win this game the longer this goes on. They do end up no-shielding that first Ominous Wind, which is a good play, but I just need charge move spam if I want to win this game, right? Scrafty does not have a move like Close Combat that could one-shot our Licky, so if I can put them into range where a Body Slam is going to knock them out, that's all we really need to win this matchup. Ominous Wind number 2 coming through. Our opponent is going to have to shield this up if they want any chance to win this matchup here. They are going to shield, and we are going to try to get yet another Ominous Wind against this Pokemon. We're going to shield up our Rotom, of course. We love this little thing. We don't want it to go down quite yet, and we can try to throw another Ominous Wind here in just a second. We do have it. Our opponent is close to another Thunder Punch, though, so they can knock out our Rotom if they want to see our third, but we were able to neutralize the Scrafty so much at this point that we can take them out with a Licky. In comes a charge move. Luckily, they have not been throwing Power Up Punch here. That would be absolutely terrible if they were able to ramp up a ton. But even if they did have Power Up Punch, I think we still win this game. We have our Body Slam loaded right now. Licky able to take care of Scrafty and win this match. GG's to our opponent. Rotom popping off so much today, core breaking so many different teams. It's able to take out the Poisons, the Fighters, the Ghosts. It's just kind of crazy in any matchup that isn't like a Licky or Miltank, right? I think in general this Pokemon is kind of hard to get access to, right? The only one that I had in my inventory was from Sinnoh last year. So if you don't have one already, it's a little unfortunate. It's a bit of an inaccessible pick, but it's the only Astonish user in the entire meta, and because of that, people are so weak to it. It is so fun to use, and if you have one, I definitely recommend trying it out. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you've enjoyed videos like this on the channel and you want to see more in the future, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a ton, and I'd love to see you in future videos. Thank you again for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.